During a high school class project, my teacher told me it's unrealistic being a CEO. It's been my dream to be a CEO since I was 10. So I told her, it is realistic. Follow me on my journey to learn what it takes to become a CEO.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. Today I'm here with Allan Jackson. How are you doing today, Ty?
I'm excellent today. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
I'm good. All right.
So for the first question I want to ask you is, can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Sure. I started out starting to write children's books. At age 40, I got the idea because my son opened up a lemonade stand and made $50 selling lemonade. Didn't know what to do with it, so I tried to find a book to teach him. I couldn't find one, so I wrote one. And that's how I got started on my authorship and my being the CEO of my own company. The growth and development of that has taken many turns since then. I've grown more from an author to an advocate of literacy. I like to think that the book is the what, but the advocacy is the why. And generally, many businesses excel when you express why this business matters, why it's relevant for you to purchase a book, why it's important for you to know about financial literacy, why you should teach it to your children. And I think when you can develop a business and a narrative around the why and how that why impacts others, you have a tremendous opportunity for growth.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to how you became an author of all these books that you made?
Sure. Like I said, I got the idea at 40, never having written much of anything. I was at best a B student in English, so I never ever thought that I would be an author. But I was always a tremendous reader. My mother introduced me to the concept of reading at a very early age. So reading was always part of my narrative, never writing. But once I got the idea to write, I really discovered how much I enjoyed it. I also switched the narrative from writing to storytelling, because writing for me seems to be very much an art. When I read some of the things that some of these brilliant writers write, I'm like, I don't write like that. I don't think I can write like that. But how can I write? Like, what can I do in my own special way to accentuate my gift of writing? So my writing is more storytelling. And when I write, I try to write very visually so that children can kind of see what's happening without even looking at the illustrations. And that path has just gotten me to really enjoy the process and expand and diversify my characters, where I write about CEOs, I write about superheroes, I write about little girls who use their imagination. And, the more you write, or the more you do anything, the better you get, and the more you find your voice. I will say that also my storytelling is also cemented in the fact that I grew up in the Bronx in the 70s. So I got to witness the birth of hip hop music. I actually got to see it conceived and born right in front of my eyes. And basically what hip hop is just self-expression through storytelling. So that was an integral part of me becoming the author that I am today.
So being able to take the hip hop that you learned and turn it into your storytelling with your books, how has that been like a big impact in a way from your storytelling?
Yeah, because it makes me realize that these things are possible. I mean, to see hip hop start in the Bronx with just a bunch of young black kids trying to express themselves to become this global entity that is now adopted by every single facet and culture in the world, it's really powerful to be able to see that, and makes me believe that if these kids can do that, then I can do it too. And also, you think of how diversified rap is from there are female rappers, there are Asian rappers, there are rappers that talk about bling, but there are rappers that are very conscious and talk about the community and life and empowerment. And so it's beautiful to see how vivid hip hop music is, and how you can use that same template to create your own vivid outlet and self-expression.
If there was a young person that wanted to become an author, what is some advice that you would give to them?
I think the most important thing is to use their most authentic voice. I think it's important to learn from other people, but realize that you are, one of 8 billion people on this planet. And you, along with all other 8 billion people, have their own specific voice. Use yours. Don't try to be like anyone else. It's okay to learn from other people, but use your own fingerprint-like type voice to express how it is that you feel. That's why when we listen to our favorite hip hop artists and we hear their lyrics, like they speak to us, unlike other artists who we may listen to. The other thing, especially if you're an indie author like myself, is realizing that you are as, if not more important than your actual product. Yes, your book is really important, but you are the face of that book. And, you know, it's important for you to realize that you're the advocate and spokesperson for that, because the book could sell on its own. But when you also showcase yourself as the ambassador of that book and the ambassador of why you wrote it in the first place, I think it expands on who you are. It also allows other people to be able to see the author and to be able to go, oh, wow, like I usually don't see authors. Like they're usually just in the back of the book. Here you are in front of the camera, letting kids see who you are and hopefully inspire them to want to be authors as well.
I want to go back a little bit. You said that you want to learn from others, but you also want to be yourself.
Sure.
How are you able to take what you learned from other people and implement it into your own ability without looking like you're trying to copy them?
You know, that's a very good line. I will say one of my favorite quotes by Pablo Picasso is that good artists borrow, great artists steal. And so like there are a lot of artists that will kind of like, I'm wearing a shirt from Basquiat, and there are many people that have tried to capture his artistic ability, but there's only one, and the original always kind of leaves an imprint on us to kind of expand on their work. So I feel like I kind of do the same when I read someone whose work I enjoy. Let's take Stephen King, for example. I love how vividly he paints a picture. He'll spend 2 pages on just the set of the room that he's in. And I enjoy that. And I try to like do that so that the picture I'm painting for the reader, that they understand the environment that they're in. But I just try to scale it down a little, especially since I'm talking to children, and generally Stephen King is speaking to adults. I think, you know, like whether it's a LeBron James and you see how he shoots his jump shot, or Taylor Swift or Beyonce and you see how they move on stage, you can then see that and like, you know, try it, but then put your own little spin on it. And yeah, so I think that's kind of what I try to take away.
You're also a motivational public speaker. What is how do you prepare for those speeches?
You know, I ask every venue that I'm going to speak at, what's their objective? What is it that they're trying to do? For some, it might be to get kids excited about reading. For some, it's to help them be better storytellers. For some, it may be able to just have fun. And so I cater my presentations around whatever the objective is for the school. And I always try to inject humor into it. I don't think it doesn't matter what the venue is, and it doesn't matter who the audience is. If you can make them laugh and have a good time and feel inspired, I think you have ability to connect. One of my favorite speakers is Les Brown, who's probably the most famous motivational speaker alive today. And he said, the best motivational speakers transfer emotion. And so if I can make my audience laugh, be sad, angry, doesn't matter what the emotion is. If I can transfer that emotion, you have a better chance of them receiving your message and then pushing that message out amongst their people.
What is some advice that you can give to a young person that wants to become a motivational speaker?
Learn. Like I said, Les Brown's one of my favorite speakers. If you're a comedian, you've probably studied dozens, if not hundreds, of other comedians to see what's their presence, how they nail the punchline, how long are their jokes, like how vivid are they telling their stories. And being a motivational speaker is very similar. Just one of my favorites, his name is Zig Ziglar. He's an old school motivational speaker, one of the godfathers, and he always tells these amazing stories, and within the stories there's so much joy and humor within them that he just demands attention, and he just gets you thinking in ways that you haven't thought before. So that's one of the things I try to do also, is I try to be unconventional in my speaking. For example, one of my most recent social media post was how to respond to your kid when they say they're bored. Every kid at some point has said, Dad, Mom, I'm bored. And usually it's like, well, go play, well, go, or find something for yourself to do. And I think we should flip it. I think if a kid says they're bored, I would cheer. Like, that's awesome that you're bored. Now you have an opportunity to learn something new. What's something you wish you knew how to do? And like just that will get them like, huh, well, I've always wanted to learn how to play piano. Well, you know what? Let's Google how do you do that. And now they've got an objective. They were bored before, and now they're thinking, I've always wanted to do this. Let me go and try to do this. And so I try to always kind of think unconventionally on how people can solve issues that they may have, because we all have them. And the more insight and perspective that you can give, especially when it's unconventional, to help people become the best versions of themselves, I think you build value in who you are and what it is that you stand for.
What is it like to present at a TEDx event?
It's for me, it's incredibly exhilarating. I love to speak. I think it's a byproduct of living in New York City and being born and raised in the Bronx and watching these young kids use their voice to be able to push their agenda forward, and to be able to stand in front of hundreds of people and offer my insight and perspective on the things that I find of value is incredibly empowering. And I love it. I've done 3. I would love to do 300 of them. In fact, social media kind of gives you the opportunity to do mini TED Talks, which is how I've kind of created my platform and following. It's fun. I think one of the things I love about it the most is that I've always wanted to do a TED Talk, but I didn't know how. And I think the universe just said, okay, I got you, because TED came to me. I didn't even go to them. So it was just kind of like, if you can manifest it and see it happening, the universe will figure out a way to make it happen.
What are some ways that you prepare for your speeches to make sure that they're good?
Yeah. So again, I'll study other people in that field to get their insight and perspectives so that I can learn it and then kind of like put my own spin on it. But one of the major things that I do just before I get on stage, I listen to Lyrics to Go by Tribe Called Quest. I love hip hop, and there's something about that song that just makes me feel good. And there's nothing particular about it. It's not even an emotional song. It's just a song that I listened to one day before I hit stage, and I nailed it. And I guess in a superstitious kind of way, now whenever before I go on stage, I listen to that song, and it always makes me feel good. But yeah, I love performing. I'm something of an attention addict. So having a platform and being able to speak to people is just very gratifying to me.
When you're on stage and let's say you might mess up or slip up on a word, how are you able to recover to make sure that even the audience might not even notice that you made a mistake?
You know, sometimes I acknowledge the mistake. There's none amongst us that haven't made one. I think the more human you appear to people, people are more empathetic instead of just, you know, stumbling, or like if you fall to, who hasn't fallen? I mean, we've all fallen. You get up, you laugh, you move forward. If you can, try to interject some humor around it. But making yourself more human in front of other humans, I think is just another way and a better way to connect. Instead of being holier than thou and just like, I'm flawless and without fault. No, you know, I trip, fall, and make mistakes like everybody else. But I do say I do prepare quite well for my presentation so that I don't make a mistake. But if I do, you know, I acknowledge it, dust myself off, laugh, and move on.
As a leader, what is like some advice that you would give to somebody that wants to become a leader in their future?
I think building a team is so vitally important. I think it's important to vet the team to make sure that they align with who it is that you have the same values and missions and goals. I think it's also important to learn. Like, you know, to know I don't have all the answers. You know, I'm figuring this out as I go along, like all of us are in life. Just be vulnerable, be human, be real, allow people to do their job without overstepping and micromanaging. Try to have fun. I mean, life is too short to just live in the minutia of BS and politics and just try to enjoy the process. And I think a big thing for me as a leader, and I discovered this long ago, is that my objective is to serve. Is to serve the customers that I'm trying to engage, to serve the people that I work for when I speak on their behalf, the coworkers that I have that are helping me align and push my mission. My job is to serve them all. And the more of a servant I become, and the more of myself that I give, the more in turn that they give back to me.
Being able to feel like, and earlier you said, we all make mistakes. So when you're on stage, if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just brush it off. You might laugh and get the audience
100%
by doing that.
Yeah.
So being able to do that and kind of making it in a way as a leader as well, doing the same thing, how has that been able to help you to just be a better person overall?
Yeah, I think just humility, like to be able to say, yeah, I made a mistake, or I didn't have the right idea. One of the proudest moments I've ever had was with my son. As I'm his dad, I'm kind of his leader, and he came to me with needed some advice, and I gave him my advice, and he didn't go with it. He stuck with his originally. He's like, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. And a couple of weeks later, we talked about it, and it was his idea that worked. And in hindsight, if he would have done my idea, it wouldn't have worked in his favor. And the humility of me going, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for being your own person and having your own convictions and doing what you thought was right and excelling in that. And I think the humility for me as the dad to look at my son and go, you got it right when I had it wrong, only made us closer together. It only made me, it made us more human. And as opposed to this hierarchy as I'm dad, do this, you're a child, do that. Instead, we're more peers now. We looked at each other. He respects me. He did before, but I think maybe a little more, that I can be wrong. And that's okay. Like, you're just, as a parent, as a employee, employer, anything, you're just not going to get it right all the time. And that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. It's just how life works. I think when you can admit it and you can humble yourself to say, I got it wrong. And even if not more important, to look at your constituency, or in my case, my son, and say, you got it right. I think it just builds a sense of connection and pride that's necessary for growth.
In the book, Tony, he talks about the LBW, the long, lonely, boring work. So can you tell us about your journey in the LBW that you had to do?
Yeah, I mean, initially when I wrote my manuscript, it was rejected by 147 agents and publishers. And that was terrifying, because I then didn't know, how am I going to do this? If the method that I believe you have to get a book published is go to these people, and these people say, I'm not interested, well, how do you do that? And so you rely on yourself, and that sense of self means you've got to do the legwork of studying, researching, implementing, and creating on your own. And while I had people assisting me, the majority of it was myself, or staying up late at nights figuring out how to make this work. But I believe that we all need to do better jobs of investing in ourselves and our future for growth. And sometimes that's a long and lonely process. But I've always been a person that looks not just at where I am in the race, but also at the finish line. Mm-hmm. And I know that for me to get to the finish line, these are the steps that I have to take. Like, you just have to. You're not going to be great or elite unless you go through the pitfalls and the adversity and the loneliness. So when you look at it that way, you just realize it's part of the process. This is not an obstacle or something bad happened to you. This is a positive set of growth that's happening so that you can get to you want to be stronger than you would otherwise. So when you look at obstacles like, the loneliness or the rejections as just part of the process, then it makes it easier to receive it, mm-hmm. Because you know it's coming and you could prepare better for it and win.
When you were going and you got rejected by his agents, how were you able to keep on going? Because that's a lot of rejection for a normal person. They get rejected that much time, they just quit after that. How were you able to keep on going?
Well, a couple of things. One, I was in sales, corporate sales at the time. And in corporate sales, you're taught every no brings you closer to a yes. So using that same finish line analogy, I know each no is just getting me a little closer to my goal. Somebody's going to tell me yes. And they're going to tell me yes for the most important reason. I believe in me and what I'm doing so much that the no's don't matter. You just don't get it yet. And I'll give you a great example on why. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. So one of the first institutions I reached out to was Scholastics. Scholastics, as all people know, is this huge, publishing institution that all kids are familiar with, from the Scholastic book clubs that are pretty much in every school across the country. I reached out to them during my journey and they rejected me. They had no interest in me whatsoever. And that was maybe 10 years ago. An hour before I met you, I had a meeting with a Scholastic representative who called me. And because she saw the success I was having on social media, and now she's interested in being part of my narrative, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. So the question is, are you willing to do the work despite the rejections, despite the hardships, despite the obstacles, to get yourself to where you need to go? Because if you do, even the people who reject it will come around. It's how it works. And it's happened to me time and time again, that my path on the way up has been filled with people who didn't believe in me. But I believed in myself so strong and so hard that it got the attentions of those who did, and eventually those who didn't. Now they do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, man, just keep believing in who you are, what you stand for, and just be obnoxiously resilient. Like it's, as long as you believe in it, let nothing ever deter you from reaching your goal and your destiny.
I want to go back to how you talked about Scholastic was one of the first institutions that rejected you.
Yes.
To now wanting to work with you as well. How has that, how does that make you feel?
It validated. It's like I knew from the moment I conceived being an author that this was the right thing to do. And every day I'm validated because a child will email me and tell me that they started a lemonade stand because of my book, or another child that will tell me that they hated reading until they read my book, or a parent who will reach out to me and say that you literally changed the way that my kids read. Like, those little things just validate that this is why I'm here. This is my purpose. And then to have an institution that large, and they're not the only one. There have been multiple institutions, large and small, who on my path up rejected me and then eventually came around. But you know what? I don't blame them. Me being worthy is up to me, not them. It's my job. It's my job to be so good that I can't be denied. I wasn't there then. Mm-hmm. So I don't blame them. I would have rejected me too. So it's not their responsibility or their job to uplift me. That's my job. So once I do the work that validates being on that level, then they come to you. It happened with my most recent book. I told you I was rejected by over 100 publishers, but my first book sold over 250,000 copies, and I did those 3 TED Talks. It got the attention of a major publishing company who then asked me to write a book for them. Mm-hmm. So it's literally just about self-love, self-confidence, and extreme perseverance.
You said in the beginning, when you first were getting rejected, and you said now, knowing yourself now, you would have rejected yourself back then.
Yeah.
How were you able to get to the point where now you're like, yes, I'm at the top of my game?
Oh, I'm not at the top of my game. That's in part. There's always that sense of humility. I mean, LeBron James has won how many championships? He's trying to win more. The top of the mountain that you climb is just the bottom of another. So you just try to get to that next mountain, especially when you love what you do. So for me, there's no apex. There's no pinnacle. My objective is just to keep going as long as I can keep going and enjoy the process. And when I stop enjoying it, which I don't envision, then that's where I'll stop. But in the meantime, just keep going, enjoy the ride, and continue to serve in whatever gift that you have to be a servant.
What is the feeling that you get when you're receiving these emails of the parents and the young children saying that your books inspired them?
Yeah, it's again, it's validation, but it's also remarkably rewarding. Mark Twain said one of my favorite quotes is, "The 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And the day that I became an author, I knew why I was here. And despite being an independent author and not knowing what I was doing, those little pieces of validations from emails and messages, and it just validates that what I'm doing is just. What I'm doing is my purpose, and it's a value. And as long as those things are still relevant, I will continue to do what I love to do.
When you're building a team, what are some characteristics that you're looking in for the people around you?
Yeah, I think one of the important ones is I don't want mirror images of me. I don't need a me. I'm me already. I need somebody who complements other aspects of like despite writing a book about financial literacy, I don't like numbers. I don't like administrative stuff. I don't like accounting. So my job is to find, my gift is speaking, my gift is writing. I want to find somebody's gift of administration, someone's gift of, so that they can live in their gift and their purpose. Somebody whose gift is promoting, give them that opportunity and that ability. So one of the things I want to make sure that we have the same vision as far as uplifting and empowering people, but I also want them to live in whatever purpose that they have, so that they're able to be as excited about doing the numbers as I am and standing in front of a crowd, so that there's this harmony of people loving what they do that works, that makes this kind of like a recipe where these ingredients all come together to make this one thing and having that one thing work.
When you're making business decisions, how are you able to make sure that it's ethically and morally correct to you?
That just comes with being raised right, and how, like, I have just the most amazing mother who is always who hasn't always gotten it right, but always had good intentions on making it right. And I think and that's all you can do. And that's all we can do as parents. Being a parent is the one on-the-job training every day for the rest of your life. You never figure it out, because every parent is different, every child is different, every family is different, every situation is different. So every family is literally unprecedented in what it is that they're doing. No two parents are ever the same. No two children are ever the same. So as long as you're raising your family in a way that makes you feel proud, and that you feel like you're good at putting good people out into the world, which my mother did, I like to think of an exceptional job of, then I think it's okay. As long as I know I can sleep well at night. My job is to promote literacy and to empower children. If there's something that I'm doing that doesn't make me sleep well at night, then I'm in the wrong business. So I have to make sure that I feel good about it, that it's putting smiles on people's faces. And they also have to be humble enough to know that I'm not always going to get it right either. And I haven't. And so to learn from it, grow and fail better.
When you're going into like a business decision or a business deal with somebody else, how are you able to make sure that they're not there to not only just take away from you, but to help you as well?
I vet them. We vet each other. Whenever someone reaches out to me, and it's usually via email, I'm like, I want to meet virtually first or in person. I want to know who you are and what you stand for. And let me tell you what I do and what I stand for. And let's see if it works. Let's see if it meshes. And I think in any relationship, whether it's a casual business relationship or personal long-term relationship, we need to vet people. I don't think many people, I say very often in relationships, the reason why most relationships or even marriages and divorces, marriages don't work, isn't because the people aren't willing to try hard to make it work. It's because the entities haven't vetted themselves in the first place to even see if they're together. Many relationships are are they cute? They got a good job, they got money, they got this, they got that. Great, I'm in. And then they get to know the person and go, whoa, I don't know, who are you? Yeah, you didn't find out who they were. So I think it's important for me to find out who these people are, what they stand for, and let's see if it aligns with me. When I hear from an organization, let's say like the YMCA, which is right across the street, first thing I'm going to do is go to their website. What's their mission statement? What do they stand for? Does it align with my mission statement and what I stand for? So I know what I'm getting into. And then once we meet, as long as we're in harmony with what it is that our objectives are, I'm all in.
Okay, I want to go back to, you talked about building a team, and you didn't want to find somebody like you. You wanted to find people that are better than you in your
Absolutely.
yes, in their category that you might say, like you said, you're not going number, or you're going numbers, but you don't like to do the numbers. So you found somebody that's good at numbers and enjoys it.
Absolutely.
So when you're building a team and you're finding people that enjoy what they do, but how does that make the team that much better?
Because it gives it all businesses have, energies or have divisions in which they need to excel. Because if the production team is killing it, but the sales team isn't, well, then they're building up all these products, but they're not getting them out into the market. Or vice versa. If the sales team is killing it, but they're selling inferior products, then eventually, like, these things are not going to work. Human resources, production, marketing, like, these things all kind of have to work in harmony with each other. And so it's really important to, like, have clear goals and understandings, but probably more important, systems to make sure that they work. I can say I want to lose 50 pounds or gain 50 pounds. That's my goal. And it's a great goal. But if I don't put the system in place to be able to bring that goal to fruition, then it's just a dream. So I think it's important to make sure that each division of your business, one, has the same goals in mind, but also are part of a system where it all links together so that those goals are able to come to fruition. And that takes transparency, it takes energy, it takes compatibility, it takes clear understanding and communication, like in any other relationship, on what the goal is and how to obtain it.
How do you build a system that works to be that efficient?
How do you make an omelet? You crack a lot of eggs. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it's trial and error, like every other aspect of your life. I've failed a lot more times than I've succeeded. But when you learn from those failures so that you're able to succeed better. And yeah, and again, I think it's also, again, just humility. I'm never at any point going to tout myself as the greatest entrepreneur that's ever lived, and I don't think anyone should, because there's just so much to learn, so much to do, so many victories and mistakes to make. I think it's just a matter of continue to try and do better, and figure out, like, what's the best way to serve the community in which you're working for.
When you said that you had to make sure that you're able to stay humble, how are you able to stay humble through all your success?
Loving myself and loving what I do and what I stand for. Like, and being really connected to those that I'm serving. Like social media, I love social media. I know it gets a bad rap, but it's been really instrumental to my growth and development. And when I'm constantly getting feedback, and not all of it positive, but by far the majority is positive, it's humbling to know that I'm making my mark on the world. Here's the one thing that I know for sure, is that 100 years from now, I will not be here. I won't. No one in this room will be. But your legacy will. Like, what did you stand for while you were here? What systems did you put in place to be able to make the world a better place? And that could be anything from creating a book that inspires millions, or to being a parent that did their best to instill those values and love inside that child, so that child can in turn give it to their children and their children's children. Mm-hmm. And so as long as you're humble enough to know that the work that you're doing is just, that it serves and makes the lives of people better, and that when you leave this world behind, that it's a little bit better than when you left, I think that should keep you humble. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to, but I choose for me that it does.
Going back on building systems and trial and error, how are you able to make sure that you're looking at your failures and you're not seeing it and you're like not letting that bring you down, but in a way helping you to build a stronger system for the next time?
Yeah, I think, again, it's just a matter of understanding that the failure is going to happen. Like, you're going to fail. I don't care who you are or what industry you're in, that failure is part of the process. And so when you stub your toe on a Lego, you next time you walk down that same path, you look for the Lego so that you don't step on it again. And so I think you just use that that concept continuously in all facets of your life. And sometimes we continue to step on the Lego, and never learn. And people suffer the repercussions from that. But I think it's people who are wise to learn and learn more about themselves than the Lego. The Lego's there. It's like, it's your job to learn enough to revolve around the Lego. What's the phrase? When I was young, I tried to change. When I was young, I was smart and tried to change the world. But as I grew older, I became wise and realized I just need to change myself. And so I try to use that mindset of just being a better me, learning from my mistakes so that I'm able to serve better.
I just got a couple more questions I want to.
No, let's do it, baby.
Growing up, one of your books, Danny Dollar, was one of my favorite books. I used to always love to read it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came about writing that book?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it was the byproduct of a simple question. When my son was 8, he asked to open up a lemonade stand. He made $50 in 3 hours selling lemonade. He said, "What am I going to do with the $50, Dad?" "I don't know, son. So let me go to a bookstore and try to find a book." And I noticed, one, there were so few books teaching kids about money, and there were so few books with a young Black contemporary character that was just fun, not the minutia and heaviness of slavery or Underground Railroads or Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks, just like a fun kid who just was having a good time. And so the name Danny Dollar just popped in my head. I went home and started writing and gave birth to this book. And, Danny is an 11-year-old kid who's just really wise for his age. He has goals and aspirations of being a millionaire by the time he's 21. He loves basketball, but he realizes he's probably not going to be a basketball player. He thinks that he has a better chance of owning his own basketball team. And I think it shifts the mindset for kids to think that, you actually probably have a better chance of owning a team than you do to become a player. But it also shows the vision that he has, and he's working towards that vision by working little odd jobs. He washes cars and walks dogs and runs a lemonade stand. And I love Danny that he's an average everyday kid who's just a little extra in the way that he thinks about his future and the way that he thinks about money. And I love the book because it's a really fun, engaging story while simultaneously educating you at the same time. But like the education component to it is very much like peas in the mashed potatoes. Like, you're kind of giving it subliminally. It's not hitting you over the head of what's a stock, what's a bond. It's just kind of going through this story and this saga that he goes through, and it's simultaneously interjecting, what's a stock, what's debt, what's interest. And I think it's one of the reasons why the book has been successful, because for me, I was introduced to reading for joy. I didn't get it academically. It wasn't first introduced to me in school. It was introduced to me by my mom, who read to me out of joy. And so I wanted to make sure that this character and this book was something that gave kids joy, but also educated them along the way. So yeah, I love this character and what he stands for, and it's my most popular book. I will say it's probably not my favorite book that I've written, but it's definitely the book that made me an author and that has literally inspired hundreds of thousands of children around the world.
How are you able to balance your work life and also your life as well?
Yeah, well, I realize that my work life is my life. It's my passion. So they're intertwined. I can't, and nor do I want to separate them. I love what I do. And I think the beautiful thing about that, and this goes for everyone who's out there listening, is that whatever path you decide to make your life's work, this is your choice. No one is choosing this for you. Now, hopefully this is not an arranged situation. You get the opportunity to choose your path. Choose the path that gives you joy. Choose the path that inspires and gratifies you. So I don't worry. I enjoy what I do. And And I'm working in the middle of the night. I'm working first thing in the morning. I'm working weekends, but I compartmentalize because spending time with my family also matters. Better in my health and going to the gym also matters. So it's just a matter of, putting systems in place so that I get the opportunity to do all of those things and enjoy them all. I enjoy my time with my girl, with my kids, with my work, with the gym. Like I enjoy all of those things. And as long as I put the systems in place that I get to fulfill myself in all of those facets, then I think that's a recipe for a good, happy life.
Last question I want to ask you is, what is one fun fact about yourself?
So I have a lot. One, I love chocolate chip cookies, and I literally get chocolate because I'm vocal about that. I get chocolate chip cookies literally from around the country. People just send me chocolate chip cookies, which does not help me at all on my path to losing weight and going to the gym. But the other thing is that I shave my head 6 times every day, 6 days a week. Sunday is generally the only day I don't shave my head. I just moved to California 2 years ago because I met a woman on TikTok who happened to live in California when I was living in Massachusetts. And I fell in love on the second I saw her page, I said, that's the person for me. A month later, I flew down to meet her. We fell in love. And 9 months later, I moved across the country. And I think that's also an example of what it really takes to be great in any facet of your life. And that thing is risk. Like, it's impossible for you to be great in any facet of your life, whether it's being a parent, an entrepreneur, an athlete. You can't be great unless you're willing to take a risk. And when I met this person, never having lived on the West Coast, I knew that this was my person. And the only way that I could be with this person, if I took the risk to moving across country to a place I'd never thought about living before. And it's the best decision that I've ever made.
Thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it.
You are a great interviewer, by the way. All right, so excellent job. It's an honor to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Realistic CEO podcast. See you guys in the next one. Peace.